The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days, and the scent of dust and paper filled the tiny antique shop like trapped time. She had only meant to browse, not to find it. A faded card, tucked behind the glass of a tarnished frame. The handwriting slanted delicately, a dance between sorrow and haste. Beneath the words, a faint indentation pulsed like a heartbeat beneath skin. When the lights flickered and the ultraviolet beam revealed hidden letters, small, terrified, and trembling, the air in the room changed. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was listening. Sleep does not come easily when words refuse to rest. The storm fades into a restless dawn, but her mind loops the same phrase. Those 5 fragile words, trembling like a confession under glass. Every sound in the apartment carries new meaning. The ticking clock, the hum of the refrigerator, even her own breath feels foreign. The card lies inches away, its silence heavier than any spoken sentence. She wonders who wrote it, what breath last warmed that ink, and if time can remember a scream long enough for someone else to hear it. The building smells of old paper and lemon polish, a scent that seems to hum with memory. She moves slowly between shelves of town records, her footsteps muffled by the carpet that has absorbed decades of secrets. Each drawer sighs open, releasing names, dates, lives reduced to ink and dust. She isn't sure what she expects to find, only that the air feels heavier the deeper she goes, as though every forgotten file wants to be found. Somewhere in the silence, the past is breathing again. He listens without interrupting, the kind of silence that feels measured, deliberate. When she finishes, he leans back in his chair, the creak of old leather the only reply. His eyes hold the weight of a story already known, or buried. The postcard rests between them on the desk, fragile as evidence and twice as dangerous. He tells her that Pine Hollow remembers its ghosts, but prefers they stay quiet. His tone is calm, but underneath, the warning hums like distant thunder. The town lies quiet at dusk, the air heavy with the scent of wet pine and rusted rails. The river moves lazily through the valley, carrying reflections of amber streetlights across its slow current. She stands at the edge, the wind tugging at her coat, wondering if this was where it happened. The place behind the postcards whisper. Somewhere beneath the water's surface, the past waits, patient and unbothered by time. A single ripple breaks the reflection, spreading outward, as if the river has just remembered a name. The road narrows as the town appears, half hidden beneath fog and memory. Pine Hollow does not welcome newcomers. It studies them, testing their patience with silence and small talk. She drives past the shuttered mill, the leaning church, and the hollow bell tower that hasn't rung since the Depression. The air smells faintly of river silt and something older, something the wind carries but never claims. By the time she reaches the inn, she understands this isn't just research, it's trespass. The postcard in her coat pocket seems to hum with recognition. The library smells like rain trapped in paper. The woman behind the desk barely looks up when the visitor mentions Margaret Vale. Her answer comes too quickly, too practiced, the sort of denial that has been handed down with the building's keys. Somewhere in the archives, the truth waits behind a lock of politeness and dust. She senses it, the resistance of a town that knows its story but refuses its ending. The librarian's eyes linger too long as she leaves, as though marking her for someone else. Night wraps around the inn like a shroud, the world reduced to the flicker of a single bedside lamp. She spreads her notes across the quilt. Names, dates, fragments of handwriting. The postcard lies at the center, still damp around the edges. When she tilts it toward the light, something glints, a faint impression of a corner that doesn't belong. Her pulse quickens. She flips it over and notices for the first time that the cardstock is thicker than standard. 2 layers pressed together. Her hands tremble as she begins to peel them apart. He stands at the counter of the diner like someone carved from another time, the kind of man who knows every face that passes through. His voice is low, deliberate, weathered by both tobacco and memory. When she shows him the photograph, something behind his eyes stiffens. He says he doesn't remember, but his hands betray him. Pausing mid-wipe, the cloth held too tight. Before she can press further, he changes the subject to the weather, but the tremor in his hand gives him away. Some ghosts aren't dead. They're simply waiting for the right question. The inn is quiet again, but the air feels wrong. Too still, too aware. She wakes to a noise below the floorboards, soft but deliberate. A shifting sound that doesn't belong to the wind. Her flashlight beam trembles as she crouches near the vent, listening. The hum of the refrigerator stops. The silence that follows is alive. She lowers the light toward the crack between planks. Something glints back at her, faint and metallic, reflecting her pulse. The postcard on the desk rustles once, as if exhaling. The storm returns before dawn, washing the streets clean of illusion. She's back at the archive, its basement humming with the slow drip of water seeping through stone. Records lie open on the table like wounded things, damp, swollen, their words bleeding into each other. Her flashlight flickers as she turns a brittle page, finding a death certificate with no body and no signature. The handwriting is familiar, the same slanted tilt that pressed fear into the postcard. In that moment, history ceases to be a story. It becomes a trap that never stopped closing. She follows the river path through fog thick enough to taste. Locals said the Vale family plot had long since been washed away, but she finds the remnants uneven ground. Old iron fencing half swallowed by mud. The air carries a faint sweetness of decay and rain. She kneels where the earth dips and notices the indentation of a long, rotted marker. Someone left wildflowers here recently, their petals too fresh for the story to be forgotten. Beneath the mud, something solid resists her hand. The corner of a small tin box. The sheriff meets her at the edge of the cemetery, rain dripping from his hat brim. He doesn't ask what she found. The question hangs unspoken between them. When she opens the tin, the smell of rust and mold fills the air. Inside lies a water-damaged photograph and a single page torn from a diary. The ink blurred but legible enough to sting. He said, "The river hides everything." His face hardens, jaw tightening around the truth. He's carried his whole life. The past isn't dead, it's inherited. Night descends heavy and blue, the river swollen with the storm's fury. She stands on the bridge again, the water below raging like something alive. The diary page trembles in her hand. When she drops it, the current catches it instantly, spinning it into the dark, returning words to where they came from. A whisper of movement catches her eye. A figure at the opposite bank, half shadow, watching. Her pulse quickens. She blinks and it's gone, leaving only the roar of water and the uneasy certainty that she is no longer alone in the story. She returns to the sheriff's office with mud still on her boots. He's waiting, an old ledger open on his desk, its pages trembling in the draft from a cracked window. The ink inside is neat and deliberate, but wrong. Names crossed out, dates altered, an entire column blacked over with thick lines. He admits what she already suspects. His grandfather signed the reports that buried Margaret Vale's death. The words come slow, heavy. Outside, the river roars louder, as if demanding payment for truth finally spoken. The ledger's pages smell faintly of iron and mildew. She traces the scratches where truth was erased, feeling the indentation of the word that no ink could hide. Every stroke is a confession, written in silence and preserved by cowardice. He stands across from her, the weight of his family's name pressing down heavier than the badge on his chest. The storm outside has eased, but its echo lingers between them. Some truths don't need to be spoken. They hang in the air until someone finally breathes them in. The journal's cover is cracked and soft with age. Its pages whisper as they turn, a sound too intimate for public record. The sheriff's hands shake as he passes it across the desk. Inside, the ink belongs to his grandfather, the man who decided what the town should remember and what it should bury. The final entry is dated 2 days after Margaret's death. The boy was not alone. They begged me to protect the family name. The words carry the faint scent of guilt, preserved like formaldehyde. The revelation sits heavy in the air, unmovable. He tells her the name she's been chasing isn't a stranger's, it's his own. The initials on the postcard, carved in fear, belong to his bloodline. His grandfather ordered the cover-up, but his father inherited the silence. He's lived his life inside that quiet, mistaking denial for duty. She says nothing, only watches as the realization hollows him. Some inheritances weigh more than gold. They're measured in unspoken apologies. The photograph resurfaces that night, mailed anonymously to her motel room, slipped under the door. She recognizes it immediately. The same image from the tin box, but now is different. The edges are crisp, not decayed, as though it was printed yesterday. On the back, new ink gleams wet under lamplight. You're looking in the wrong direction. The penmanship is unmistakably modern. The past isn't haunting her. Someone alive is watching. Sleep evades her entirely. She drives to the river's edge in the dark, headlights slicing through mist. The water is calm again, too calm, reflecting the sky like a secret held too long. She steps closer, clutching the photo, feeling the pulse of something unseen beneath the surface. The postcard, folded in her pocket, feels warm, impossibly so. A shape glimmers beneath the waterline, pale and still. She takes one more step, and the ground shifts, soft with old roots and memory. The river exhales. The knock comes just before dawn, soft enough to seem uncertain, deliberate enough to make her freeze. She doesn't call out. The second knock is louder. 3 measured taps that sound more like punctuation than request. Her pulse climbs into her throat. Through the peephole, the hallway is empty, but something slides beneath the door. An envelope, its paper slick with rain. Inside, a single strip of black and white film and a note written in precise, unfamiliar script. He didn't drown. The lights flicker, and for a moment she thinks she hears someone walking away. Slow, careful, unhurried. She develops the film in the sheriff's office darkroom, an old, forgotten space that smells of chemicals and mildew. The images emerge slowly under red light, ghostly outlines at first, then clarity sharp enough to draw breath. The first photo is the riverside, the night of the dance. Lanterns shimmer in the background. The next captures movement, 2 figures struggling near the water. The third freezes her completely. A face turning toward the camera, half lit, half shadowed. Eyes wide with recognition. It isn't Daniel Vale. Silence stretches between them like a drawn wire. He studies the photograph without touching it, his face pale under the dim light. Every word she wants to speak dies before reaching her tongue. He confesses then. The story passed down in hushed arguments and sleepless nights. His grandfather swore to protect the Vale family's name in exchange for silence about another family's guilt. What he never admitted: the murderer was his own brother. The truth feels cold and holy, something neither of them can hold for long. By dusk, she's posted everything. The photograph, the diary fragment, the ledger scans. The internet does what small towns cannot. It remembers loudly. Within hours, Pine Hollow trembles with noise again, half in outrage, half in denial. She watches the numbers climb on her screen, her name spreading faster than she can stop it. For decades, the truth drowned quietly. Now it floods every corner of a town built on forgetting. But exposure has a price, and somewhere beneath the noise, she feels the ripple of someone moving against her. The call never connects, but the voice on the other end breathes, Slow, steady, deliberate. She listens, every instinct screaming to hang up, yet unable to move. Then the whisper comes, cracked and low. You shouldn't have opened it. The line dies. The window glass behind her shudders, a soft tap. Like a fingertip against the pane, she turns slowly, and her reflection moves half a second too late. Outside, the parking lot is empty, except for the sound of river water running somewhere close, too close. Morning breaks gray and brittle. The motel room feels smaller, air thick with spent electricity. She hasn't slept. Neither has he. When the sheriff knocks, he's holding something wrapped in wax paper, found, he says, in his attic, tucked inside his grandfather's uniform pocket. Another postcard. Same handwriting, same year. But this one isn't torn. The message is shorter, sharper, final. He didn't mean to. They made him. She stares at the words until they blur, realizing the river didn't just take a body. It took a choice. The attic smells of cedar and rot, a tomb for secrets too fragile for daylight. Dust motes spin in the beam of her flashlight, stirring each time she moves. Boxes marked with family names line the walls, their labels curling like dried leaves. She opens one marked Rourke, 1932, and finds photographs, a flask, and a letter never mailed. The same looping script again. The ink trails off mid-sentence, as if the writer had been interrupted. Below it, a drop of brown-black stain blooms through the paper. Not ink. The pieces align at last. A family debt. A silenced witness. A murder disguised as mercy. She reads the letter aloud, voice trembling. Henry confessed he struck Daniel, but only to protect his younger brother from ruin. Margaret saw everything. Threatened to tell, and the town's elders decided the river would keep the peace. Her throat burns as the words leave her mouth. The sheriff doesn't move, doesn't breathe, as if hearing his own lineage read aloud like a eulogy. Outside, rain begins again, polite and endless. They burn the attic papers that night, not to erase history, but to unbind it. The fire snaps softly, consuming names and guilt together. Smoke curls upward through broken shingles, carrying whispers of the past into rain-soaked air. He watches silently, shoulders squared, as if offering himself to judgment. She feels no triumph, only relief shaped like grief. The truth isn't freedom, it's weight redistributed. When the final ember dies, the silence left behind feels almost kind. By dawn, the storm has gone. The town feels rinsed but not cleansed. She stands by the river one final time, the air sweet with wet soil, and the promise of quiet. The current moves gently, revealing nothing, concealing everything. She whispers a name that no one else remembers and lets the ashes scatter from her palm. For a moment, the surface ripples into a face, young, calm, forgiven, before breaking apart again. The water resumes its endless, indifferent song. The exhibition hall hums with low conversation, the sound of curiosity brushing against reverence. She stands at the edge of the crowd, watching strangers lean close to glass cases that hold the words of the long dead. Letters of apology, confession, farewell, all written but never delivered. At the center, beneath soft light, lies the 1932 postcard, now preserved, unafraid. Her name sits small on the placard beside it. But this isn't about her. It's about a girl who tried to speak before history drowned her voice. For the first time in 90 years, the town speaks. Newspapers, online archives, even church bulletins hum with the story they once buried. Some are furious, some relieved, most silent, but not from denial. The sheriff resigns publicly, citing the need to listen. She watches from afar as Pine Hollow begins to remember itself, one confession at a time. The truth doesn't ruin the town, it rebuilds it, brick by honest brick. Every story left untold, has found its echo. Back home, she sits at her kitchen table again, the same table where the mystery began. The rain has returned, gentle now, more memory than storm. She writes a letter addressed to no one, dated today, signed simply with her initials. It's a letter of thanks to the dead, to the living, to time for being patient. When she's done, she doesn't seal it or stamp it. She tucks it into a drawer, already heavy with silence, content to leave one story untold. Weeks later, a local child finds something caught in the reeds along the riverbank. A rusted locket, its chain tangled in weeds. Inside, beneath glass cracked by time, two faces smile in sepia. A girl and a boy, side by side. The photo's surface has bled slightly, their edges fading into each other. When she hears, she drives back quietly, standing at the bank where everything began. The water murmurs low and kind, and for the first time she feels it forgive. The camera of time pulls back, the town small beneath a wash of gold morning light. She walks alone down Main Street, the bell tower now ringing each hour without shame. The postcard rests behind glass at the museum, her name forgotten in the long echo of Margaret's truth. She pauses at the bridge, dropping a fresh postcard into the water, blank, unstamped, nameless. It drifts away slowly, carrying nothing but peace. The story has no more witnesses, only listeners.